I'm back. Hello and welcome back to the Have You Seen podcast brought to you by Dave on Film. As ever, I am Dave, and it's been quite a while since I released an episode, so how about we call this season two? I mean, wow, we made it to season two. Who renews this shit? So, just a bit about what's going on in life in general. Not been up to much, just been working, trying to see as many films as I can at cinema. Football season's over. Leeds United stayed up in the Premier League, get in there, which I saw happen when I was on holiday. I was in Gran Canaria, and I saw us stay up, thankfully, which is always good. Every time I go to Gran Canaria, Leeds United manage to stay up or get promoted. Every time I'm on holiday, it seems to happen. It's really weird. We've got the World Cup coming up. That's due in a matter of days now. More matches than there's ever been before. I think it's 108 matches, something like that. That's going to be one hell of a tournament. I don't know how long England are going to last, but we'll certainly follow it. All the games are on really late as well, so I think it's 5 p.m. UK time. It's like 5 p.m. kickoffs, 8 p.m. kickoffs, 10 midnight. Some of them are even like 2 o'clock in the morning. I think Scotland have got some really bad ones, but England, we've got some decent times. So hopefully we'll do well in that. Speaking of football, I've been watching loads of my daughter playing football. She plays for an under 12s team, and she's been coming along really well. They're in kind of festival season at the moment, so she's going and taking part in those festivals where they play little mini tournaments and play shorter matches. But that's really good fun to go and see her going and enjoying that. I think that's the main thing. I saw some videos this week from when she was training. She went to training with her mum, and she's doing back heels and everything and rollbacks. I mean, the kid's got more skill than I ever had at football. If anyone knows me, I so my dad used to run a football team, a Sunday morning football team, and it was me and a lot of mates we got from school. And yeah, no, I wasn't. I was the son of the manager, and I still couldn't get a game. So I used to play in goal, and then we actually got somebody who could play in goal, and I started playing outfield. I came on twice, and the second time I came on, I scored a goal. Now, I'd like to say it was a marvellous 30-yard volley. In reality, a lad called Chris Jones crossed the ball over to me. The keeper tipped it onto me, and it hit my knee and rolled over the line. I celebrated it like Jurgen Klinsmann. I slid, well, I tried sliding. I ran to edge at penalty area and jumped through air and just landed in mud. And everybody was celebrating with me. So that was my crowning achievement in football. And I actually retired after that. I hung my boots up. There was no way. There was no way I was going higher than that. So that's enough talk about football. Let's not talk about football. Let's talk about films. So there's a lot of films out that since the last time I spoke to you. There's been a lot of films out, and I've actually watched a lot of films. I'm trying to get through as many as I can. I had a bit of hiatus from cinema. I missed quite a few, but I'm back on board with trying to get to as many now. Some recent highlights was one of them was the drama. Now I don't know if anyone saw that, but that was a really good film with Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, and it's one of those films that you don't really want to talk too much about, because if you do, you can give away what happens, and if you've seen the trailer for it, you know that there's some kind of insane revelation, and when that revelation happens in the film, it's quite shocking, and it is quite like I like gasped when it happened. I audibly gasped in the cinema, and then the rest of the film is then like kind of how they kind of go on from there, and where things how they can whether they can still get married, knowing whether he can marry her knowing what he knows about her. So that is really good. Now, if you've seen it, write to me, tell me what you think about it, and same with anything. If you've seen anything, write and let me know what you think about the films that you have seen. I also watched the one that was nominated for an Oscar last year. If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Hated that. Not a big fan of that at all. I saw Faces of Death, which is a horror film based on the old, like, kind of cult video, Faces of Death, which was kind of one of those videos that people passed around and went, "Oh, have you seen this? These real footage of people getting killed." But in reality, a lot of it was debunked. Some of it was real footage, but then there were a lot of staged stuff. But then this is a film that's all about somebody who's kind of mimicking those deaths in the film, and it's got one of the guy who played Billy in Stranger Things. I've completely forgotten his name. He played Billy in Stranger Things, and he is kind of an absolute psycho in it. Um, Mortal Kombat came out at the cinema. I went to the cinema to see that. That's a right laugh. I remember, so the original Mortal Kombat that came out in the 90s, I loved. And then when they remade it back in 2021, I really enjoyed it. And for me, Kano was the highlight of the film. And again, in Mortal Kombat 2, Kano's the highlight of the film again. Um, this time there's a big tournament happening. And it kind of carries on straight after the 2021 version. And it's just utter carnage. There's a few films that I won't talk about yet because they're in the top 10 and I'll talk about them then. I also picked up on the Peaky Blinders movie that's on Netflix. Big fan of the TV series, so I had to watch the film. I mean, I finally got around to watching it. I didn't watch it when it came out. And it was all right. I enjoyed it. I think there were it bit of a casting issue when they recast one of the main characters, but I wasn't that bothered about it. And they did write one of the main characters out, and they never took part in the film, which I'm not going to spoil for you if you've not seen it. But one of the main characters isn't in it. Now they cited some things that had happened that some people believe it's stuff that happened in real life, but it's never been proven. They just said that this character was going to get killed off anyway. So they did it kind of off screen. Yeah. I also a really good film that I enjoyed recently was the Ballad of Wallace Island, which is a really nice comedy drama. Um, it's very much if you know Tim Key, so Tim Key's in it, and I believe he wrote some of it as well. And if you know kind of Tim Key's delivery of his lines and how he acts, he is basically doing that in this film, and he invites an old like 90s famous singer to this island, and there's nothing on this island, to play a gig. But he's like an eccentric millionaire, so he pays him a lot of money to come and do his gig, but without telling him that he's also inviting his old partner and her new husband over. And it's like he's kind of trying to rekindle things, but that's a really good film, and it's a really nice. It's just a nice watch. One that's not going to trouble the top 10 is a new film on Netflix called Ladies First, which is the new Sacha Baron Cohen film. Now, I know people can be very hit and miss with Sacha Baron Cohen films. There's been some that I've liked. I quite liked this. It were 90 minutes of silliness. So the basic premise is that he's kind of a top exec in a business and is pretty much a male chauvinist. And he bangs his head, and so where he'd been mistreating women, as soon as he bangs his head and comes round, like all the women, like the taxi drivers are all women, and they're all leaning out of the car going, "Oh, yeah, mate," and it flips everything round. So all the women are in power, and the women are the ones who are being, like treating men like pieces of meat. So it's very on the nose. In like, this is what happens here, and this is now what's happening here. Deal with it. So it's okay. Some of the comedy in it falls flat, but some of it's quite well done. And there's something about Sacha Baron Cohen that's quite likable. See, I've been a fan since back in the days when he used to do not even the Ali G show. It was before that. There was a show that I think was on Channel 5 called the 11 o'clock show. And he had a small segment on that, and that's where he started doing all the interviews with famous people. And that's when he kind of got famous, and then the Ali G show came along, and everything kind of took off from there. So that's kind of a quick rundown of what I've been watching. What have you been watching? Because if you've got things that you have been watching, I want you to write in. I want you to email me and let me know what you've been watching, and whether you've been enjoying it or whether it has kind of not hit the mark for you. Um, so we've had an email in from Thomas Pitts, friend of the podcast, friend of mine for many, many years. Me and Thomas go way back to school days. We were in we were in a school production together, which I'll always fondly remember. We were in Joseph and His Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I could probably go on stage now and redo that word for word, step by step, after all these years. Be interesting to see. But Thomas has written in because he's taken his 7-year-old to see Charlie the Wonder Dog, which is a new animated film that's in cinemas at the moment. I've not had a chance to see it. I've seen that it's on, but it's on at really. It's got like one showing every day at like 9:30 in the morning. Well, I'm working. I'm not going to get a chance to see it, so I will pick this up when it comes out on digital. Now, I've not actually read this email, so what I'm about to read, I'm going to go in completely blind, and I'm going to read it word for word, completely blind. So Thomas says, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't good either. In truth, I spent most of the film trying to work out what was actually going on. To be fair, I nearly fell asleep several times. That might have been because the cinema was gloriously cool during this heat wave, so I watched it last week when it was red hot. Equally, it might have had something to do with the film itself. The whole thing felt oddly disjointed. Rather than telling a coherent story, it seemed to stitch together a series of sketches with the thinnest of plots holding everything together. There were a few mildly amusing moments, but nothing that really landed. The aging dog provided the only genuine emotional pull, yet even the passages showing years passing in a matter of seconds weren't particularly clear or effective. I often found myself wondering how much time had actually gone by, and then I found myself looking at my watch and wondering how much I still had to endure. The biggest issue was that I never really cared about any of the characters. There was very little development, some rather strange alien related nonsense thrown into the mix, and not enough substance to make it of any matter. Perhaps the most telling review came from the boy. I don't think he laughed once. By the end, it all felt a bit lazy, not offensively bad, just forgettable and far harder to sit through than it should have been. So you go, Thomas. Thanks for that. That's a good little email there about Charlie the Wonder Dog. I did see a trailer and I did look at it and think I wouldn't mind seeing that if it popped up and I kind of had if it fit in with the timings and all that. I would have probably gone to see it. But I've not saw. Has anybody else seen Charlie the Wonder Dog? Because obviously Thomas not a massive fan, and his 7-year-old not a massive fan either. But somebody out there might have liked it. I think some of these animations get churned out a lot of time, and there's a lot of animation that just gets churned out and just thrown into the ether and just kind of comes and goes, and then never gets seen again, and it'll probably just not be on some like kids cartoon channel forevermore, unfortunately. But thanks for that, Thomas. I'm going to move on now. I'm going to talk. So I'm recording this literally about an hour after getting back from watching Masters of the Universe, which is a brand new remake of Masters of the Universe. It's all about He-Man. It's big, it's brash, and right after this, I'll tell you all about it. Welcome back. So, yes, I have been to see Masters of the Universe. So I'm recording this on Wednesday, and it's the day that it came out, and I had to go see it in the cinema. So I'll give you a little bit of background about He-Man. I have been a fan of He-Man since I was a kid. I used to watch the cartoon all the time. I had all the figures. I had loads of He-Man figures: He-Man, She-Ra, Battle Cat, Man at Arms, Skeletor, loads of the bad guys. Absolutely loads of the bad guys, and then I used to mix them up. So I'd have He-Man fighting alongside the Ghostbusters, and they'd have to beat the ghosts. And yeah, so Brave Star as well. I used to have all the Brave Star figures. If anyone remembers that cartoon from the 80s. I've always had a fondness for He-Man, and even more so when the Masters of the Universe film came out back in the 90s, starring, was it the 90s or was it? Um, it was 1987. Wow. Sorry, I was just looking that up on the internet. So 1987 was the original Dolph Lundgren film. And if you've not seen it recently, you might so in that, like, Man at Arms in that was like it was a guy who was a pretty older guy. John Cypher played him. Um, Courtney Cox is in it. It's one of like Courtney Cox's first films. She plays a really young girl in it who gets kind of tied up in everything that's going on. Frank Langella played Skeletor, and he was awesome. The Skeletor in the original Masters of the Universe film was amazing, and I thought I right like Dolph Lundgren as uh, He-Man. But that one was very much geared up that it was kind of he was He-Man all the time, rather than like in the cartoon where he's Prince Adam and then he kind of wields the sword, puts it in the air, and gives the whole by the power of Grayskull. I have the power. Then he becomes He-Man. But so the kind of the original, the '87 film didn't have that in. Now this one does. So the brand new film, which is literally out today in the cinemas, stars Nicholas Galitzine as Adam Stroke He-Man, who we know obviously is going to turn into He-Man at some point. We know that. So we kind of see at the beginning he introduces us to him and Eternia, where he comes from, and everything that's gone on, and how Skeletor completely trashes everything, lays to waste the whole of Eternia, and he escapes to Earth, where he loses the sword of power. Yeah, it's called the sword of power, literally. And he loses it, so he's not got and he thinks that he can get home if he finds the sword. So he's working a 9 to 5 job. He's living in an apartment with a flatmate, and he's trying to find the sword. Eventually, he does, and he manages to through when he touches the sword, kind of it forces all the evil ones to know where he is. So they come, and he ends up meeting up with his childhood friend Tila, played by Camila Mendes, and they get kind of whisked away back. She takes him away back to Eternia, and that's where he kind of runs into her dad, Duncan, who's played by Idris Elba. And Idris Elba's great in this. He plays the part really well. And then all the other characters, so Skeletor's there. So Skeletor is very CG, but with Jared Leto's voice. Now, when I first heard the voice in this film, so if you remember the old He-Man cartoons, Skeletor was very much like He-Man, He-Man. That kind of terrible impression there of Skeletor. But he had kind of that voice. Now in this, Jared Leto kind of goes for, it's almost like he's doing an impression of Sir Ian McKellen, and it's like he's doing it as Ian McKellen. And when I first heard it, I thought, "Oh no, Jared, what are you doing?" Because Jared Leto's got one of those. He's one of those actors who he tries to kind of one up everybody, and he always tries to push the envelope and try and make it about him. And at first, I was like, "He's doing it again. He's going to ruin this." And I really thought, I'm not going to get on board with this whatsoever. But as the film progresses, it actually ended up being really funny. And Skeletor, some of the lines, some of the things he said were very, very comical. A couple of the early kind of comedy lines really fall flat, and I was like, "Oh, this is painful. This is going to be painful all the way through." But as he gets into it, it actually worked really well, and I quite enjoyed. I did quite enjoy it. And if I were going to go back and watch the film, I'd go back to watch it for Leto's Skeletor because of how he was. Um, Galitzine as Adam, obviously when he's Adam, he's meant to be scrawny, but you can tell he's like ripped under his shirt. He wears a pink shirt, goes to work, just does his day to day. But obviously then when he changes, he kind of gets the full ripped physique and the muscles and everything that were there all along. Before you just they had it covered up. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So the whole thing of the story is it's the silly story is that Skeletor just wants to get the Sword of Power, because if he gets the Sword of Power, he can use it to just wreak havoc across everywhere, and that's like kind of the extent of the storyline. But it doesn't need anything more than that, because there's a lot of the film is about kind of finding yourself and knowing who you are, and it's that like, kind of like that you've got it inside you kind of thing. There's some sentimentality, because obviously there's Adam's parents uh, get captured at the beginning, and he's obviously hoping to save them. You've got family connections, which obviously brings about certain kind of stories, and it works. I think I really enjoyed it, and it was a real nostalgia trip. So the music, the music is fantastic. So Brian May did most of the music. In fact, I think he did all of the music in the film, and it just works so well. So that it's got a real kind of rock metal vibe to the soundtrack, and it's got like a rousing kind of come on soundtrack, like where you're just like kind of willing them on to do well, and it works, and it really it's quite powerful, and I think it also makes the film feel like we're in the 80s again, and we're enjoying He-Man, and it took me back to being a little kid. When you put radio on, you're hearing Queen, and you're hearing things like that, like playing on the radio, and it works in the context of this, and I really liked it. I think there'll be some who don't like it, who don't like the film in general, because I think there are some parts where it tries to be funny and it falls flat, and not everything works. There's some really kind of close to the bone, real low hanging fruit jokes in there, and I'll let you think up these yourself. One of the characters is called Fisto, because he's got like a big metal arm and he punches people. But there's some jokes about him being called Fisto, and there's a guy called Ram Man, and these are the original He-Man characters, and he's called Ram Man. So they make a couple of like uncouth jokes about that, which kids will not get. Kids will not get all. There'll be certain jokes in the film where adults in the audience will be absolutely pissing themselves laughing, and other people are just not, and kids are just not going to get it. But I'm fine with that, because I'm all fine. I mean, it's a 12A certificate, because they know that their audience is all those 80s kids, all those 80s, 90s kids who grew up with He-Man and grew up with the original. There's some cameos in there, which I'm not going to spoil for obvious reasons, because I want you to have the same reaction to what I had. If you go and watch it, there are 3 end credit sequences. So one happens more or less straight away. One happens at the end of so it shows a lot of animated stuff as it's doing the kind of on-screen credits and showing like the outline of Skeletor and showing Jared Leto and stuff like that. When it gets to the end of that and it shows Masters of the Universe, there's another end credit sequence that's quite an important one. And then there's one at the very, very, very end of the credits. Like you've got to stay right to the end. It's about 6-7 minutes of credits. That one at the end isn't as important. So if you don't want to stick around, don't. Message me and I can always tell you what that is, or you can Google it. But the one immediately at the beginning of the credits is brilliant because of what it shows, and the one in the middle of the credits is real. It's like, yes, bring it on. So I'll let you kind of experience that yourself. But yeah, that's Masters of the Universe, which is out now. Go see it. Let me know what you think. I'd like to hear from people who are a similar age to me. So I'm 44. So I was born in 81. So obviously I grew up watching He-Man. And I'd like to know some views from people who grew up watching He-Man, how they found it, and also people who've kind of never been in the He-Man world, how they found it as well. So if you've never seen a He-Man cartoon and you've never watch the original Masters of the Universe. Did you enjoy it? And it'll be interesting to see whether there's any kind of correlation between all that. So yeah, go see it. Go to the cinema and see it. It's a big film. It's got great music, great sound. It's got big action. There's talking tigers. There's mad costumes. There's big explosions. There's sword fights. There's magic. It's exactly what you'd expect from a Masters of the Universe film. And I, for one, absolutely loved it. So now we're going to go and look at the current UK box office top 10. Now, I'm going to just get it up on my screen. So the top 10 at the moment is very strong. And I'm going to go through some of the films, and I'm gonna talk about the ones that I've seen and ones that I'm going to pick up at some point, and we'll see where we are. Now it's interesting to see. So Thomas earlier on, who sent the email in about Charlie the Wonder Dog, that is currently at number 12 in the charts. So it's been out a couple of weeks, and it's at number 12. So it's getting the audience, I guess. So kids, especially when it were half term holiday, there'll have been a few kids who went to see it. But number 10, so we'll jump to number 10, and number 10 is Passenger. Now, I went to see this the other night. Now, I did a bit of a double bill with one of the other films that's in the top 10, and this is a brand new horror film which has come kind of out of the blue. I didn't see. I saw a trailer for it when I was watching another film and thought, oh, to be fair, there was a jump scare in the trailer that got me, and I thought this is going to be worth a watch. So it's directed by a guy called Andre Ovredal. I've probably pronounced that completely wrong. Now, he is known for things like he directed Troll Hunter and Autopsy of Jane Doe. And I think there was another, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. He was one, I think there was a few directors on that. But he worked on that as well. And it's quite a simple story. So a lot of this film is very much about some people trying to get from one place to another, and someone latches onto them and starts following them. So it's a young couple. So the young couple are played by Jacob Scipio, who plays Tyler, and Lou LaBelle, who plays Maddie. And she's kind of giving up her city living life to kind of go on the road with Tyler. And they're going to live in a camper van and tour kind of Route 66, that kind of thing. Pretty much off the main roads. And they witness a bit of an accident one night. So the opening scene of the film, if you've seen the trailer, the opening scene of the film is the trailer, effectively. It's that scene. So that scene happens, and then the characters that are in the camper van kind of run into the aftermath of that. So they stop on the road at night and they get out, and Maddie kind of spots that there's some scratch marks down the car that's crashed. Then something attacks the person who's in the car, so they kind of do a runner because they don't want all to do with it. They do a runner and they head off, and then through some whole convoluted thing, they end up at this this van meet, and it's clear that there's somebody who's got a sign with all missing people on, and it gets revealed that people go missing on these roads all the time. And there's kind of a couple of rules to stick to. One of them is don't drive on the roads at night, and whatever you do, don't stop. Obviously, Tyler and Maddie have done that, so they're kind of up against it. And effectively, this malevolent demon thing has kind of latched onto them, and it's known as the Passenger. And effectively, nobody lasts more than a couple of days, and it does start coming for them. So it kind of manifests itself with Maddie first, and kind of starts coming after Maddie. So she keeps seeing it, and she keeps telling Tyler, I keep seeing things, and he don't believe her. But then obviously as things go on, he soon realises that there is something after them. And it's done quite well. Now, for these kind of films, so a lot of these can be really cheesy, and you go back to films like Wrong Turn and things like that that hark back to films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills of Eyes. Those types of films, they keep coming round. And this feels very much like one of those kind of early 2000s horrors that revived a lot of that kind of people are going out driving and they're getting attacked and they're getting killed. Um, but obviously, rather than it being like a bunch of mad people in a house or whatever who are slaughtering them, this is kind of like an evil, ghostly spirit thing that's coming after him. It kind of shows up as an old man, and he's quite terrified when it shows him. And it does that thing of the lights on, the lights off, the lights on, the lights off, and it's like he's there. Or all of a sudden he's not there. Oh, and then he's jumped out with you. So there's a lot of like lights on, lights off, scream type thing going on. But I thought Tyler and Maddie, so played by Jacob and Lou, I thought they did really well. They have to carry the film for most of it, and I thought they did really well. It's not an overly long film. It's only let's have a look. It's only 94 minutes, but it's pretty well done, and the director kind of knows what he's doing with this kind of thing. So it's the long sweeping camera shots that are panning around. There's a scene in a car park that looks like it was done in one shot, and is done practically where the camera keeps going around Maddie, and effectively she's trying to walk to the van, but the camera starts panning around and she starts looking around, and as she kind of starts looking around, the van has moved further up away from her. And she's trying to get there, and then obviously then things come after her. But it's all kind of done in one shot. It's done really well, and it looks really well done. So credit's got to go to Andre Ovredal for that. And I think he's got a good career in this kind of horror. Like I say, it harks back to those early 2000 films, but I'm all right with that because they're the films I quite enjoy. Number 9 in the charts is one that I've not seen yet. So this is called Power Ballad, and it's a bit of a comedy drama, which is all about I think it's Paul Rudd and one of the Jonas brothers. I can't remember which one. It's Nick Jonas. So it's Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas. They're friends. They both write a song together, which I think is mainly written by Paul Rudd. But then they go their separate ways. Years later, the character played by Nick Jonas has released that song and got famous for it, and it's just kind of at him trying to get his way to be noticed for writing that song. I've not seen it. It is one that I'll probably catch, but I'm probably going to wait until it's streaming on one of the services. It's not one that I'm desperately mad about seeing, but it has gone straight in at number 9 in the charts, and that is Power Ballad. At number 8 is the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Now, this has been in the charts for 10 weeks now, so it's been there ages. It's made 38 million, and it's still rocking in with like 221 grand. Now, obviously, it's just been school holidays, so they'll have been putting extra showings on of this. So it's hanging in there, and I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't brilliant. It were a little bit all over the place, but it were good, cartoony fun that was quite enjoyable. And that's Super Mario Galaxy movie at number 8. And at number 7 is Tuna. So Tuna, I was going to go see this tonight, but I didn't in the end because again, it was one that I thought after I'd watched Master of the Universe, I thought I don't really want to slow things real down to the pace that Tuna looked to be. So it's Leo Woodall, Dustin Hoffman, and Leo Woodall they're both piano tuners, but Leo's character Nicky has got an hearing aid type device because he's got some kind of hearing issue. Where he can hit all noises. It's called hyperacusis, which means that he suffers from loud noises really painful. So, but he can tune pianos, so he has to give up his career of like being a piano player and becomes a tuner. And then when his dad falls ill, so his dad's Dustin Hoffman, when his dad falls ill, he's got to start cracking safes because he can listen to how the barrels fall in the safe. So he starts cracking safes to kind of earn money from them. Now it does look quite good and it does look quite entertaining. I don't think it's going to be one it's not going to be full of comedy or anything like that. It's going to be a nice drama. I am probably going to go see it at some point if I get chance. But with the World Cup coming up, I think there's going to be a bit of a hiatus on cinema trips. But I'll see if I can get to see it. That's Tuna that is at number 7. And if you've seen it, let me know. Let me know what you think about it because it'd be good to hear your views. Number 6 is The Sheep Detectives. Now, I'm thinking I'm going to go see this tomorrow because it looks really funny. Hugh Jackman and a load of talking sheep, and he reads them murder mysteries. Then I think Hugh Jackman dies, something happens to him, and then the sheep have to solve the murder. It sounds stupid, but I really want to watch it. It feels like it's got like a kind of Babe, Pig in the City kind of vibe to it. So I'm intrigued to see what this is going to be. So I am going to probably go see this tomorrow. So I'll report back on the Sheep Detectives next week. So if you've seen it, let me know because you might have taken your kids to this because it does look quite fun. But if you have seen it, as I say, let me know and I will read out your thoughts on that next week. That is The Sheep Detectives at number 6. And at number 5 is the last film in the top 10 that I've not seen. So I can't really comment on this. And it's The Devil Wears Prada 2. Now, I've not seen it, but I know that there's probably loads of you that have seen it. I was never a massive fan of the first Devil Wears Prada film. I remember watching it. I was on a coach driving to the Grand Canyon, I think, on a holiday when I did West Coast America, and I just never got into it, and so I've not been that bothered about this sequel. But again, a lot of people will have been to see this because it is number 5 in the charts. It's been in the top 10 for 5 weeks now. So it's made 32 million. So it's nearly made as much as the Super Mario Galaxy movie that's been in twice as long. So it's like I say, it's rocked up. This week alone, it's made 875 grand. So if you've seen The Devil Wears Prada 2, let me know because I want to know if it's actually worth watching. I've heard other reviews of it that say that it's a bit weird because Miranda's a bit softer than she was in the first one. So it takes away some of that kind of edge of it. But I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are. And that is The Devil Wears Prada at number 2. No, it's not. It's at number 5. It's The Devil Wears Prada 2 at number 5. Number 4 is what is one of my favourite horror films, definitely of this year, potentially of the last few years. It's a film called Obsession. So this is directed and written by Curry Barker, who at first I thought, is he a relation to Clive Barker? Because that would have been brilliant, but he's not. So Clive Barker was a guy who wrote Hellraiser. So I thought, is he related? But he's not. And it don't matter because this Curry Barker is going to make his own way in this world of horror, and he's going to be very, very successful. So Obsession it's a very simple premise of a film. So you've got a guy called Bear, played by Michael Johnson, and a girl called Nikki, played by Indy Navarrete, and Bear he likes Nikki and he wants to ask her out and he gets some bad advice. He gets some advice to not do it from his friend Ian. But he really wants to ask her out and he can't build up the courage. And then so to try and kind of win her over, he wants to buy her a little trinket and he gets this thing called a One Wish Willy, which sounds wrong, but it's just like a thing where you make a wish and you break it and your wishes are meant to come true. Now, obviously, this is a horror film, so you know that this is going to go wrong in the most outstanding of ways. And it does. So he's meant to give it to her, but he bottles it and uses it himself. And he wishes that Nikki would love him more than anything and more than anyone else in the world. and boy, does she love him. So it kind of all go. It starts off quite tame, and it's just her wanting to hang out with him, wanting to do things with him, wanting to be with him. But then it becomes apparent that the obsession in the title is her, and she, as because of this wish, she is insanely obsessed with him, and it becomes absolutely psychotic. So it's a fairly slow build, but once the second half of the film kind of happens and events start unfolding, it starts getting really tense because you're waiting for that moment when something's going to snap. So there's a party scene where it's becoming quite apparent that so they start playing like spin the bottle type games, and it falls on Bear, and he's kind of got to kiss the girl to his left or whatever. But this triggers Nikki off, and she goes absolutely mental. There's some real nasty. So later on, there are some really, really nasty moments that happen, and there's one jump scare in it. Like what? It's not really a film of jump scares. It's a creepy film. It keeps you. You just feel weird watching it, but there is one jump scare, and you see it coming a mile up. You actually see. It's weird. You see the person running. You see everything happening on screen, and then it happens, and everybody in the cinema jumped. It was unbelievable, and it's for the. I actually felt dread for the first time in a long time in the cinema when it gets to the latter stages, and there's a whole scene where he goes out to work, and she kind of waits for him, and it's just vile. And there are some real nasty moments. Indy Navarrete is absolutely incredible as Nikki. She has got such an evil look on her face when she's doing the psychotic, and she's got like a smile that's really unnerving. Not to the extent of like the Smile films. This is like it's a physical smile. It's her, and she's doing it all herself. There's no CG there, and it works really well. And she is freaky as hell. And obviously, Bear starts getting like he's realizing what's going on, and he can't undo it, and he tries his best to undo it, and it's not happening, and everything just gets worse and worse and worse until like the kind of final end kind of, and it's insane. What goes on in that film is insane. I don't want to spoil it because I think you just need to watch it. Now, if you're not into horror, you're not going to like this. And it's such a simple premise. It is somebody makes a wish and it all goes tits up. Because that's what these things would do. It's not all like nicey Aladdin type wishes. Everything goes absolutely insane. It's like one of those kind of warning videos of be careful what you wish for. It's that kind of thing. And that's very much what the tagline of this is. Be careful what you wish for. Because the wish that Bear makes really, really backfires. So that is Obsession, and that's been in the charts for 3 weeks, and it's at number 4. And it is just going to prove that horror is really, really There's 3 horror films in the top 10 this week: Passenger, Obsession, and the one that I'm going to talk about that's at number 1. 3 horror films, and they're all completely different. And there's old ideas there in 2 of them, but they're done really well. And it's these young directors who are coming through. And I'm going to talk a bit about the young directors when we get to the other kind of horror film, because I think it's important. But people like Kerry Barker are the future of this industry. Gone are as Wes Craven's, unfortunately. The horror directors who did the films that we know, John Carpenter and all them, they're moving on. They're not doing these films anymore, and it's so good to see this kind of new talent, this new, I almost want to say fresh blood of talent that are coming through, and just knowing what creeps people out, and really knowing how to film it. And it comes off the back of filming. These people are filming stuff. They're filming shorts. They're filming stuff on the phones all the time. Everyone's got a camera in the hand. You can film a film if you wanted to. You've got a camera in your hand. Just film things. And that's what these people are. These people are filmmakers, and they're just coming through, and they're really, really making an impact on the industry, and it's fantastic to see. So yeah, so that was Obsession, and that was number 4 in the UK current top 10. At number 3 is Michael. So this is the Michael Jackson biopic. Now I went to see this week, and I've got to be honest, I've been putting it off because I wasn't that fussed about it, and I'd heard kind of a lot of the talk about the fact that the film doesn't touch on any of the controversy that happened later in Michael Jackson's life. Now, I can understand that from the vantage point that this film is made by the family. So it's made by the Jackson family. All of the brothers and surviving family members, they're all executive producers on this. All the names come up at the end. So apparently when the film was originally made, it did have the kind of movement into the scandals that went on. But when it got made, they then said we've got to roll that back, and it kind of got blocked by the family estate, which I can understand, but it does mean that it feels like you're watching a very sugar-coated view of Michael Jackson. Now, the film covers from when he was a kid, and his dad were an absolute bastard to him. It covers all that. So it covers the kind of like the domestic abuse things that's going on when he's a kid, and the kind of the influence that his dad had over him. Now, his dad in the film is played absolutely brilliantly by Coleman Domingo. So Coleman Domingo plays Joseph Jackson, and Coleman Domingo is such an incredible actor. He's got an intensity to him, and he needs that for Joseph Jackson, and it works really well. Now, Michael is played by Jafar Jackson, who is related to Michael, which is a very interesting bit of casting, and it's actually a brilliant piece of casting because when he is on screen, it is like watching the real Michael Jackson. He embodies that part so well. Now, the film kind of goes all the way through to more or less just after the Bad album came out. So it's just before it kind of ends, and this is a spoiler kind of where it ends. I'm just going to give you in like kind of timescales. It ends before Michael moves into the Neverland Ranch. Now, obviously, as we know, from the news and everything, it's the stuff that happens after this point that's the kind of the horrible side of the story. Now, apparently, they are making a sequel, and I'll be very, very interested to see where they go with this because there's no way, if they make a sequel, there's absolutely no way they can skirt around what happened. And if they do, then that is going to ruin the second part because you can't tell the rest of his story without covering it. Now, obviously, they don't need to go into detail because I know there's all legal things. There's certain things that can't be portrayed because of court cases ruled it out that they were never allowed to be portrayed. So there's always going to be an air of airbrushing out a lot of the nastiness. But if we take Michael, the film, as it is, so that period from when he was a kid through to when the Bad album came out, I absolutely loved it. So the character work in this is amazing. So Jafar Jackson as Michael, absolutely perfect. Coleman Domingo as Joseph Jackson, brilliant. Nia Long as Michael's mum really puts across like she's pained through it because she's seen what Joseph's doing to it, but she knows that Michael's got all this talent and it needs to be pushed, and so she can kind of see all sides of it. There's some good character work in there later on by none other than Mike Myers, who pops up as an executive, and it's just Mike Myers playing a big character, and it works really well, and he's quite funny. But yeah, I think there's no denying that Michael Jackson was the king of pop. There's no denying that. He was one of the greatest musicians ever. His songs will live on forever. Some of those songs are absolutely iconic. You only have to hear the first couple of notes, and you do in this film. You hear the first couple of notes, and you know where you're going. And there's absolutely no denying it. Now, obviously, everything gets tarnished, but up to the Bad album coming out and the kind of tour that happened after that, this film covers it in such a good way. I enjoyed it. I was tapping my foot along to the songs. I was really enjoying the performances. I think the director's done a great job. So that it's directed by Antoine Fuqua, who I'm not actually sure what he has done. So he did work on Training Day, Olympus Has Fallen, The Equalizer. So he's worked on some pretty big films, and he really really does put this onto the screen really well. It looks amazing. Everything about it is really well done and well made, and it is worth seeing. Obviously, if you've got an issue with everything, don't go see it. But it doesn't touch on that because we don't get to that period. So, if you want to watch a film biopic of Michael Jackson up to and including the Bad album, go see it because you will not be disappointed. That is Michael at number 3. At number 2, and it's been in the charts for 2 weeks now, it was number 1 last week, is Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu. So this is the film adaptation of the Mandalorian TV series. So everybody thought he was called Baby Yoda at the first, but he was Grogu. And it's following on the story. Well, it doesn't. It's not even really following on the story from the TV series because a lot of the TV series had individual episodes, and there were standalone episodes. And this is more or less a 2 hours 21 minute, a 2 hours 12 minute episode of The Mandalorian. It's very standalone, and it doesn't necessarily need that long. And think it suffers because of it. So Pedro Pascal obviously plays, well, he voices the Mandalorian. 99% of the time, he's not in that costume. And I think knowing that sometimes takes a little bit away from the film. Sigourney Weaver's in it as some colonel for no reason. She's not been in it before, so they bring her into it. And they bring like the Hutt family. So Rotter the Hutt is voiced by Jeremy Allen White, who you might know from The Bear and various other things. And he's basically it's like Jabba the Hutt but young and ripped. He's literally got a 6-pack. Like Jabba, it's like watching Jabba with a 6-pack. It's weird, and it gets a bit. There's effectively about 3 different stories going on that, one person has been kidnapped, so they have to go save him. So they go save him. Then they get roped into this thing, so they have to do that. Then they have to go and do this, and it is. I heard somebody describe it as like it's almost 3 or 4 episodes of The Mandalorian just bolted on together. And I do agree with that. I don't think it needed a big screen thing. Now, I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, because I did, because it's Mandalorian and Grogu. And by far, the best scenes in the film are Grogu. Grogu messing about. There's a whole scene where he's got to try and cover Mandalorian up because something happens and he has to hide him. And there's some there's literally like a 25-30 minute segment in the middle of the film with no talking. It's like a silent movie. And that is when the film actually works really well, because it's just Grogu and it's like a silent movie, and and there's a little bit of slapstick in there, and it's cute and it's good fun. But did it need a full film? I don't think it did. But it's making a lot of money. So it's already done nearly 11.5 million in UK, and it's number 2 in the box office, and it's Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. And in a minute, we're going to talk about the number 1 film in the UK this week. Number 1 in the UK this week is a very strange film. If you've seen it, or you've seen the trailers, or even seen the web series, which I'll get onto, you'll understand exactly what I mean. It's called Backrooms. Now, this is such a difficult film to try and explain. So I'm going to kind of go back to the beginning. So what happened in many years ago? There was not many. I mean, it's still internet era. Somebody put a picture on like Reddit of like a room, and it was kind of an empty room that just looked weird. Something looked off about it. It was kind of it was known as like a subliminal image. There was something about this room that just didn't feel right. It's like almost like it's been described as like, you've been in a room like that, a room like that, but you can't quite place it. It's like if you've ever been in a hospital and walked through a hospital corridor when nobody else is there. It's like if you've ever been in an office building when it's completely empty. Now, I've been in, I was in a zombie run, so you used to have to run away from zombies on these things. And one of the parts of it, you had to run through an empty office block, and it's weird when there's no desks in there, no chairs, and it's just all open plan, and there's just pillars and nothing else. They are the weirdest rooms ever, and that is what kind of sparked Backrooms. So a guy called Kane Parsons was 16 years old at the time, and he had seen this image online, and he started making videos and putting them onto YouTube. And these videos were kind of were animated videos. They don't look like animation because they're done really well in a program called Blender. And he kind of created these back rooms and kind of has like a first person camera view as if somebody's walking with a camera through these rooms, and somebody's kind of fallen into this room and they're walking through and there's nothing there, and there's weird things there. There's all these weird rooms, there's crawl spaces, there's an entity, something's there that's chasing them and they don't know what it is. And he put these online, and he started off and he put one on, and then he put another one on, and then there's another one that's about so there's like about 20 short videos. So some of them are really short, some of them are like 2 minutes long. One of them is about 45 minutes long. So I watched them all in the run up to going and seeing Backrooms because I wanted to see where it had kind of come from, and I would encourage everybody to go and watch them. So you can find them online. So if you just search Backrooms and Kane Parsons, you will find the kind of playlist of around 22 videos, and they do a lot of explaining about what these backrooms are and where they came from and how they were created, because they were created. Now, in the film, you don't find too much out about them. So if you kind of go and watch the film, you're gonna come away from it scratching your head and being a bit like, well, what are they? Whereas if you've seen the actual web series, it does kind of explain how they're there and what happened. And I'm not going to spoil it for you because there's a reason that they're there. Something happened and somebody were trying to create them, and then they were going to use them, but then things happened. So as we move forward now, so basically A24 saw these films and they absolutely loved them. So A24, the big production company that churn out a lot of weird films, they churn out a lot of rubbish as well, but they do some really interesting films. They got in touch with Ken Parsons and basically went, "Do you want to do a film?" So Backrooms, the film that's in the cinema now, is an hour and 50, and it stars Chiwetel Ejiofor as Clark, who kind of runs it's a furniture shop. But even the furniture shop, when you're in it, when he's in it, it's weird. So it's got a pirate thing to it, inexplicably, and even like I said, the room that it's hard to describe the furniture, because the furniture shops are weird. If you're in a furniture shop and all the beds are there or all the sofas and nobody's there, they're a weird room. Now this is an even weirder one. And he's in the room, and we know that he's kind of having some problems. His wife kicked him out and what have you, and he's seen a shrink played by Renata Rensiv, and she's called Mary. So you'll know her from. She was in a couple. She's been in a couple of films recently. One that was Oscar nominated last year. So the one that she was in was Sentimental Value, and she was also in The Worst Person in the World. And she's a really good actress. So she's the shrink. He kind of one day goes down in the basement and effectively falls through the wall into one of these back rooms. So these back rooms are like big yellow rooms. They've got horrible yellow wallpaper. They're really garish. They're horrible. And he goes in and there's kind of furniture there, but the furniture's kind of molded together. And he doesn't. He walks round and he gets lost a little bit, and then he sees weird things. There's a camera in there, so he doesn't know if somebody's watching him. He sees things getting thrown about. There's all sorts of weirdness going on, and then he sees kind of there's something in there, so he knows that there's something in there. So he gets out. He tells her. She don't believe him. He goes back in. He kind of gets lost in there. She goes and investigates. She goes in. So then it's about so he takes some people in, takes a camera in, and the kind of filming it. So there's some of the scenes in the film that are filmed very much like the web series. So it's like that first person perspective of through a video camera type thing. But this time it's obviously done with actual physical rooms, which is completely different to what the kind of animated stuff was that Kane Parsons did online. But they built these massive, huge, massive sets for this. So all the things that you see, all the rooms that you see, are actually physical constructions, and it's insane. And apparently the crew were getting lost in these rooms. So talking about the film, so obviously I knew some of the backstory from watching the web series. The first 2/3 of Backrooms is really well done. I think it's leaning into the what the fuck is going on? Where does this come from? What's in here? Why is this here? What's in here? Why is the thing stuck in the walls like kind of blended like wedged in the walls? What is it? What's going on? And it kind of goes down that thing for the first couple of thirds of the film. The last kind of act of the film, I feel like it falls apart a little bit. It turns into something different, and it kind of almost turns into a surreal survival horror. Now, I don't think that the film needed that. Effectively, there's a big kind of chase sequence towards the end, and I don't think it needed that because I don't particularly think that the graphics are very good on the thing, on the entity. I don't, even though I think some of it's graphic and some of it is a person in a suit. I don't think it looks that good, and I think it becomes a little bit laughable at the end. And I don't think that's what it was trying to go for. I think it's trying to go for that weirdness about it all, and oddness, and strangeness, and constantly making you think, what the fuck is going on in this back room? And that's what the web series did really well. And I think what the first 2/3 of this does. But again, I think it falls down at the end. And then they try and do some explanation at the end, but I don't think that the explanation that they do at the end of the film kind of fits into the stuff that we know from the web series. So I think people who are going to go see the film are going to come out with a different kind of view on what it is. But in its first week, it's taken £4.2 million. I mean, it's nearly £4.3 million. And I mean, it'll be more than that now. This was to the 1st of May, so this was to the 1st of June. So it's taken a lot of money, and it is such a surreal film. And coming out of the cinema, I could tell people had real differing views on it. I saw some people were laughing. Some people were like going, what the what? And I heard somebody say, that were amazing. And I think it's going to be very divisive. Now, I like films like this, that kind of, where are we? What's this kind of thing? I've always liked that kind of thing. And I think a lot of it harks back to when I used to watch kids' programs like Nightmare as a kid. Now, if you've ever seen Nightmare, that was a great kids' TV series where a kid would put a helmet on and go into a room, and then there'd all be like computer generated rooms, and they have to be guided around it. And I think so from that, then in the 90s, watching films like Cube, So if you've ever seen a film called Cube, that's six strangers who wake up in a strange room, and then there's interconnecting rooms, and they can go through, and then some of them there's traps that'll kill them and stuff like that. Great film. I mean, they're naff films, but I love them. And I think that the intrigue about what the hell is going on really appeals to me. And I like that kind of, you have to sometimes think for yourself. And I don't know how well that's going to go down with people, because I think some people need everything telegraphing to them and telling this is what's happening. And Backrooms is not a film that is going to tell you what's happening at all. It is really not going to tell you anything you want to know about anything at all. And I am absolutely fine with that, because I love this kind of thing. And I absolutely loved Backrooms. And it is the current UK box office #1 film. So there we go. That is it for this week. So it's good to be back. I'm going to get back onto doing this regularly. So if you're still listening, we're on season 2. Yay! Who'd have thought it? So that is it. So if you've seen anything recently, drop us an email. So you can email me on daveonfilmreviews@gmail.com. That'll come straight through to me. Or you can send it to me email if you've already got it, me other emails. I'm also on social media, so you can find me. I'm Dave on Film Reviews on Instagram, Dave on Film on Facebook, on Twitter. Just find me. You know me. You've probably clicked this link, a link from Facebook, just to come and listen to this. The three of you or whoever will listen to me. But it'd be good to hear from more of you. So if you have watched anything, maybe as well, because let's do this. So next week, it's almost going to be World Cup. So for next week's episode, I want to talk about the best football films. So films that have got a small bit of football, a big bit of football in it. Let's talk about them. So I want you to tell me what your favourite football-related films are, and we'll talk about them next week. I'll read out some of your comments on what you prefer, which ones you like, which ones you don't like. Tell me the ones you don't like, because there's some terrible ones out there as well. And we'll go through them, and we'll kind of put together kind of a definitive list of the best football films out there, because there are a few. There's a few that I absolutely love, and I will probably be watching a few of them in the next week or so, just so that I can kind of refresh me and really get into the mood for the World Cup. So there we go. So come on, England, we can do this World Cup, can't we? Do you reckon? Probably not. If you're listening anywhere else, obviously come on your country as well. So if you're in America, a couple of Leeds United players play in. Well, one plays in the team, and an ex-player. So we used to have Weston McKennie, but we've got Brendan Aronson is one of our top players. So I'll be kind of watching what America. In fact, I'm going to be watching most at World Cup. Let's be honest. So there we go. I'm droning on now. I'm talking about football on a film podcast. It's probably turning you all off. So yeah, let me know what are your favourite football movies, and I will read them out next week. Thank you very much for listening. I've been Dave, and this has been the Have You Seen podcast. And don't forget to keep those time circuits on and that flux capacitor fluxing.